You know what's funny? Everyone wants to be seen winning, but no one wants to be caught working. We live in a time where people want applause before effort, likes before labor, validation before victory. But let me tell you something real. True success is never born under the spotlight. It's born in the shadows, in the quiet, in the unseen moments when no one's clapping, no one's watching, and no one's believing in you yet. You know what most people don't understand? Silence is not weakness. Silence is power, precision, and purpose. The loudest person in the room is often the most uncertain. The quiet one, the one you underestimate, is usually the one working, building, preparing for something you can't even see yet. That's the danger of silence. It hides greatness until it's ready to roar. We live in a noisy world. Everyone's talking, everyone's posting, everyone's performing for attention. People have confused visibility with value. They think being seen means being successful. But let me tell you something. Success is not born in the spotlight. It's built in the shadows. The spotlight doesn't make you great. It only reveals what you've been doing when no one was watching. And if you've been busy pretending, the light will expose you. But if you've been busy preparing, the light will elevate you. There's a kind of strength that comes from being quiet when everyone else is shouting. When others are showing off what they're doing, you're focusing on why you're doing it. When others are competing for attention, you're competing for excellence. You're not interested in the noise. You're interested in the result. Because deep down you know, every second you spend explaining your grind to people who don't matter is a second stolen from your destiny. Silence doesn't mean you're doing nothing. It means you're doing the real work, the unseen work, the uncelebrated work, the hours when your mind is tired but you push through anyway, the nights when no one texts you, keep going but you keep going anyway, the days when doubt screams louder than motivation but you still show up. That's silence, that's discipline, that's where the real warriors are forged. People talk about manifesting success as if it's magic, but manifestation without work is just daydreaming. Silence is where manifestation meets movement. It's where you make plans, set goals, and put in the effort that no one claps for. That's the part no one wants to post online. The sacrifices, the uncertainty, the repetition. Everyone wants the trophy, but no one wants the training. The most dangerous person is the one who works in silence because you can't track their progress. You can't predict their next move. They're not feeding your curiosity. They're feeding their consistency. They're not broadcasting their every step. They're mastering every step. They let their results announce their arrival. That's power. That's professionalism. That's success. You see, when you're silent, you create a sense of mystery. You stop giving people access to your energy and your process. You let them see the final product, not the messy middle. That's how legends are made. Michael Jordan didn't post his workouts. He just showed up and dominated. Steve Jobs didn't talk about every idea. He unveiled the iPhone and changed the world. Elon Musk doesn't explain his vision every day. He just builds rockets. Greatness doesn't need noise. It needs focus. When you work in silence, something incredible happens. You develop mental toughness. You stop relying on applause to keep going. You start relying on purpose. And purpose is far more powerful than praise. Praise fades. Purpose fuels. Praise is external. Purpose is internal. When you're driven by purpose, you don't need anyone to believe in you. You believe in you. There's a line I always remind myself of. Move in silence and let your success make the noise. Because here's the truth. People doubt what they can't see, but they can't deny what they can't ignore. When your results show up, the same people who ignored you will have no choice but to respect you. That's the reward of silence. But make no mistake, silence is not easy. It's uncomfortable, it's lonely, it's the space where you question yourself the most. You'll feel invisible, overlooked, even forgotten. But those moments are not punishment, they're preparation. That's when your character is being tested. That's when you learn to lead yourself before leading others. That's when your foundation is being laid, brick by brick, failure by failure, lesson by lesson. And when your time comes, you'll be ready. not lucky, ready. The noise of the world is designed to distract you. People will pressure you to show your progress because they're addicted to comparison. But don't fall into that trap. You don't owe anyone a preview of your process. Let them wonder. Let them guess. While they talk, you work. While they post, you plan. While they rest, you rise. Remember, silence is not the absence of sound. It's the presence of strength. It's the ability to keep your mouth closed and your mind open. It's knowing that every step you take in private is a step toward public victory. It's not about hiding. It's about honing. You're not invisible. You're incubating. So if you're working quietly right now and it feels like no one sees your effort, that's okay. You're not meant to be seen yet. You're meant to be shaped. Every day you commit to your vision without applause, you're building something that will speak for you louder than words ever could. And when that day comes, when the world finally sees what you've been building in silence, they'll call you an overnight success. But you'll smile because you'll know the truth. You didn't arrive overnight. You worked for years in silence. You bled in silence. You sacrificed in silence. And now the silence has paid off. Because that's the law of greatness. Silence first, success later. You know what's destroying so many dreams today? The obsession to be seen before being ready. Everybody wants to be noticed, but nobody wants to be proven. People are busy posting their process instead of perfecting their progress. They crave validation more than mastery, and that's the trap. The illusion that visibility equals victory. But listen closely, the world doesn't pay for effort, it pays for evidence. You can talk about how hard you're working. You can show how busy you are. You can post 100 pictures of your grind. But at the end of the day, the world doesn't care about what you're doing. It cares about what you've done. Results talk, excuses echo. The world is not watching your struggle, it's waiting for your success. Here's the truth. Posting your process might feed your ego, but it starves your focus. Every time you announce your move before it matures, you lose momentum. You give people the power to judge your journey before it's complete. And worse, you start performing for approval instead of pursuing excellence. You start chasing likes instead of legacy. There's a reason why the most powerful players move in silence. They understand that attention can be addictive. Once you get hooked on applause, you forget that applause doesn't equal achievement. You stop improving because you're too busy impressing. And that's how many people lose. Not because they lack talent, but because they traded discipline for display. When you post your process, you expose your vulnerability too early. You open your unfinished work to the opinions of people who have never built anything. You invite judgment from those who don't understand your journey. They'll tell you you're doing too much, too little, too soon, too late. But they don't know your plan. They don't feel your hunger. They don't carry your vision. That's why you can't let noise dictate your direction. True progress is quiet. It's in the repetition no one sees, the consistency no one celebrates, the late nights that go unnoticed. It's not glamorous, it's gritty, and that's why it's so powerful. Because when you finally show up with results, they'll call it sudden. They'll say, you came out of nowhere. No, you didn't. You just stopped explaining and started executing. Let's be honest, some people don't post to inspire, they post to impress. They want people to think they're ahead even when they're lost. They want applause for the effort, not the outcome. But effort alone doesn't change your life. Execution does. You can talk about your goals all you want, but if you're not moving toward them, you're just decorating your failure with beautiful words. Here's what separates winners from wishers. Winners don't need an audience to validate their grind. They trust their process enough to keep it private until it's ready to shine. They know that progress in private is more powerful than performance in public, because when your results finally arrive, they don't need an introduction. They announce themselves. Ask yourself, are you working to impress people or to impact people? Are you posting because you're proud or because you're insecure? Real confidence doesn't scream for attention. It walks in with results. Confidence says, I'll show you when it's done. Insecurity says, please notice me while I'm doing it. Choose confidence, choose silence, choose results. When you focus on proving progress instead of posting process, something magical happens. You gain clarity. You stop caring about opinions. You stop comparing your timeline to someone else's highlight reel. You start moving with purpose, not pressure. That's when you begin to grow in a way that feels real, not rehearsed. And don't get it twisted. There's nothing wrong with sharing your journey, but never confuse transparency with dependency. Share from a place of strength, not validation. Inspire through results, not rehearsal. If your purpose is pure, your progress will inspire more than your process ever could. When you keep your process private, you protect your peace. You shield your energy from unnecessary noise. You give yourself space to fail, learn, and adjust without the world watching. That's freedom, that's focus, and that's what builds unshakable confidence, the kind that doesn't need attention to survive. Because when you finally step out with your results, the story changes. People who once doubted you will ask how you did it. People who ignored you will suddenly notice you, and you won't need to say a word. Your results will do the talking. That's the beauty of quiet growth. You don't argue for your worth, you demonstrate it. The truth is, every great success story has a long chapter of silence. Every empire was built brick by brick before the world saw the castle. Every breakthrough was born behind closed doors, in the grind, in the doubt, in the unseen effort. The public reward is just the final chapter. The silent pages before it are where the real story lives. So stop performing your potential, stop announcing your next move, stop seeking applause for what you haven't achieved yet. The people who clap for you too early might be the same ones who laugh when you fail. Keep your moves private, keep your circles small. Let your progress make the announcement. Because when you're busy proving instead of posting, you don't need to explain anything. Your results speak a language everyone understands. Success. No hashtags, no captions, no explanations. Just proof. That's the ultimate power. So the next time you feel the urge to show your process, remind yourself, it's not about who's watching, it's about who's working. Don't seek to be seen, seek to be undeniable, because at the end of the day, the world doesn't reward your noise, it rewards your results. You know what separates dreamers from doers? It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even opportunity. It's the ability to keep working when nobody's clapping. The grind doesn't need applause, it needs commitment. Everyone loves the idea of success, but very few love the process that creates it. The truth is, the grind is lonely, silent, and often thankless. But that's exactly where greatness is born. Not in the noise of applause, but in the discipline of consistency. Most people quit not because they're weak, but because they're addicted to validation. The moment no one is cheering, they lose energy. The moment their effort goes unnoticed, they lose purpose. But hear me clearly, if you need applause to keep going, you'll never last long enough to see results, because applause fades, but purpose endures. When your motivation depends on external noise, you become a slave to approval. But when your motivation is internal, rooted in hunger, discipline, and self-belief, nothing can stop you. The grind is not glamorous. It's waking up before the world does. It's doing the work when you don't feel like it. It's practicing when no one is watching, studying when others are sleeping, and pushing forward when doubt whispers that it's not worth it. That's the grind, not the highlight reel, not the social media story, but the unfiltered, unseen effort that makes success inevitable. You see, the reason so many people stay average is because they confuse effort with entertainment. They think the grind should feel exciting all the time, but growth doesn't always feel good. Success doesn't always feel inspiring. The grind is not meant to make you feel comfortable. It's meant to make you capable. Every rep, every hour, every sacrifice is a silent investment in your future. You might not see the return now, but one day the world will. When you stop working for applause, something changes inside you. You stop performing and start producing. You stop seeking validation and start building value. You stop trying to impress people and start trying to improve yourself. Because applause might sound good, but progress feels better. The sound of progress is not people clapping. It's the sound of your own heartbeat pushing through exhaustion. It's the sound of consistency echoing through your failures. Here's the hard truth. No one is coming to save you, and no one is obligated to cheer for you. Your dream is your responsibility. Your grind is your duty. People might doubt you, ignore you, even laugh at you. Let them. Let their doubt be your drive. Let their silence fuel your strategy. You don't need their applause. You need your action. Because when you truly believe in your vision, the lack of applause doesn't discourage you. It frees you. It reminds you that you're not working for them. You're working for something bigger. Look at every successful person you admire. They didn't start with fans. They started with faith. They weren't celebrated. They were criticized. They weren't applauded. They were overlooked. But they kept grinding anyway, because winners don't chase applause. They chase mastery. They understand that applause is temporary, but mastery is timeless. The crowd claps for moments, but mastery builds legacies. There will be times when the grind feels endless, when you question if the effort is even worth it. You'll look around and see people getting recognition while you're still in the trenches. You'll wonder if you're invisible, but that's where the test is. Can you keep showing up when the world has no idea you exist? Can you keep working when your reward is still unseen? Because if you can, that's when you become unstoppable. The grind is a contract between you and your dream. No audience, no witnesses, no applause, just you and the promise you made to yourself. Every day you honor that promise, you get closer to becoming the person you're meant to be. And one day when success finally finds you, it won't be because the crowd believed in you. It'll be because you believed when no one else did. Understand this. Applause is a moment, but discipline is a lifestyle. When you make peace with the fact that no one owes you recognition, you start moving differently. You stop waiting for permission to be great. You stop explaining your grind to people who can't comprehend it. You start valuing the process for what it truly is, a sacred journey of self-discovery, resilience, and growth. The grind doesn't give you trophies every day, but it gives you transformation. It gives you thicker skin, sharper focus, and stronger faith. It teaches you to depend on your own fire when the world goes cold. It forces you to fall in love with effort, not applause, with progress, not praise. One day, the applause will come. People will see your success and call you lucky. They'll see the reward, but never the repetition. They'll celebrate your shine, but never your sacrifice. And that's fine, because you didn't do it for them anyway. You did it for the version of you that refused to quit when no one was watching. So when the nights get quiet and the world feels indifferent, remember this. The grind doesn't need applause, it needs you. It needs your focus, your fire, your relentless consistency. The claps will come later. The world will notice when it's time. But for now, stay hungry, stay disciplined, because the grind isn't asking for your popularity. It's asking for your persistence. That's where greatness hides, not in the sound of claps, but in the silence of commitment. The world might not be watching you yet, but your future is. And it's counting on you to keep grinding, even when nobody's clapping. You know what most people fear the most? Being alone. They crave company, noise, attention, anything that keeps them from facing themselves. But here's the truth. Isolation isn't your enemy, it's your advantage. Growth doesn't happen in crowds. Transformation doesn't happen when everyone is watching. It happens in the quiet corners of your life, when it's just you, your thoughts, your struggles, and your determination. That's where champions are made. People often talk about wanting to be great, wanting to lead, wanting to change the world. But what they don't realize is that greatness demands separation. You can't grow if you're surrounded by comfort. You can't evolve if you're constantly trying to fit in. Sometimes life isolates you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. The silence you're scared of is the very space where your strength is built. Isolation is where clarity is born. When you're surrounded by too many voices, you start losing your own. Everyone's opinion becomes louder than your purpose. But when you step away, when you cut out the noise, you finally start hearing what really matters. You hear your instincts again. You hear your inner drive again. And that voice inside, the one you've been drowning out with distractions, starts to guide you. That's when you realize isolation isn't loneliness, it's alignment. Think about it. Every great leader, every innovator, every visionary had to walk alone for a while. They had to endure seasons where no one understood them, where people doubted them, where friends drifted away. It's part of the process because isolation strips you down to your essentials. It removes the applause, the validation, the comfort, and forces you to confront your truth. It asks you, who are you when there's no one left to impress? And your answer to that question defines your destiny. You don't find your power in the crowd, you find it in the struggle. It's easy to look confident when everyone supports you, but can you still move forward when no one's watching? It's easy to stay motivated when people cheer you on, but can you keep going when all you hear is silence? That's where real character is tested. That's where resilience is built. That's where you turn from ordinary to extraordinary. People fear being alone because they associate it with weakness. But being alone is actually a sign of strength. It means you're no longer dependent on the world to define you. It means you're secure enough in your purpose to walk your path, even if no one else joins you. It means you're learning to stand on your own 2 feet, not because you don't need people, but because you're strong enough to move forward without them. Isolation teaches you discipline. When no one is there to push you, you learn to push yourself. When no one is watching your effort, you learn to hold yourself accountable. When no one congratulates your progress, you learn to celebrate your own growth. That's when you evolve from being motivated by applause to being driven by purpose. The discipline you build in isolation becomes the foundation of your success in public. It's easy to blend in. It's easy to follow the crowd, but standing alone, that's where the brave live. That's where the builders, the thinkers, and the doers thrive. Because when you're alone, you're forced to rely on yourself, your focus, your strategy, your faith. And once you learn to rely on yourself, no one can ever take that power from you again. Sometimes people won't understand why you're isolating yourself. They'll call you distant. They'll say you've changed. And they're right. You have, because evolution requires elevation, and elevation requires separation. Not everyone can go where you're going. Some people are meant to be part of your journey, not your destination. Don't be afraid to let them go. Don't be afraid to outgrow the room you were once comfortable in. The truth is, isolation isn't a punishment. It's a classroom. It teaches you patience. It teaches you self-awareness. It teaches you that silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. When you're alone, you start noticing your patterns, your fears, your habits, your triggers, and that awareness gives you power. You start changing, not because someone told you to, but because you finally understand yourself enough to evolve. There's a certain peace that comes from isolation, a peace that's not dependent on people, noise, or attention. It's the peace that comes from knowing who you are and what you're capable of. It's the kind of peace that can't be shaken by opinions or setbacks. Because when you've faced yourself, nothing else can scare you. When you've conquered the silence, no criticism can break you. You'll notice that after a season of isolation, you come back stronger. You speak with more conviction. You move with more confidence. You no longer chase validation. You carry it within you. That's what isolation does. It recalibrates your spirit. It strips away the unnecessary and refocuses you on the essential. It's where your energy returns, your direction sharpens, and your vision becomes unstoppable. So if you're in a season of isolation right now, don't resist it. Don't rush it. Embrace it. It's not a sign that you're behind. It's proof that you're being refined. The silence you feel is not absence. It's preparation. Life is giving you space to grow without judgment, to build without interference, to heal without distraction. You're not meant to be surrounded by people all the time. Some mountains must be climbed alone. Some visions must be protected in silence. And some chapters of your life are not meant for applause. They're meant for awakening. Because when you emerge from isolation, you don't come back the same. You come back wiser, tougher, sharper, ready to face the world not as who you were, but as who you've become. Isolation is not a detour on your journey to success. It's the foundation of it. The stronger you become in your solitude, the greater your impact will be when you step back into the light. So if the world grows quiet around you, if the room empties, if the crowd disappears, smile. That's not loneliness, that's evolution. And evolution, my friend, happens in silence. Everyone wants to be recognized, but very few want to be refined. That's the truth no one wants to hear. People chase the spotlight before they've built the skill to deserve it. They want the reward without the rigor, the stage without the struggle, and the fame without the foundation. But life doesn't work like that. Recognition without mastery is temporary. It fades as quickly as it arrives. Mastery, on the other hand, lasts forever. It's not about being noticed, it's about becoming undeniable. The world today is obsessed with visibility. Everyone wants to be seen, heard, and admired. But here's the problem. Most people spend more time trying to look successful than actually becoming successful. They post the highlight reel, they talk the big talk, but behind the scenes, there's no substance, no discipline, no depth. That's why their success doesn't last. Because you can't fake mastery. You can fake confidence, you can fake attention, but you cannot fake excellence. Excellence requires proof. It demands work. It takes years of invisible effort before the world gives you visible respect. When you chase mastery instead of recognition, everything changes. You stop competing with others and you start competing with your own potential. You no longer measure your worth by applause. You measure it by progress. You're not trying to impress the world. You're trying to improve yourself. That's the mindset that separates the average from the extraordinary. Recognition is for a moment. Mastery is for a lifetime. Think about it. The people we call great today didn't start out chasing recognition. They were obsessed with becoming better. They worked when no one believed in them. They refined their craft when no one was watching. They didn't care about attention. They cared about accuracy. And when the world finally noticed, it wasn't because they begged for recognition. It was because their work demanded it. That's what mastery does. It speaks so loudly that the world has no choice but to listen. The danger of chasing recognition too early is that it tricks you into thinking you've arrived. When people praise you, you start slowing down. You start believing the applause instead of earning it. But mastery keeps you humble. It reminds you that there's always another level. It keeps you hungry even when you're winning. Because mastery isn't a destination, it's a journey. One that never ends. Every time you reach a new level of skill, you realize how much more there is to learn. That's the beauty of it. It never gets easier. You just get better. Recognition feeds your ego, but mastery feeds your purpose. And the difference between ego and purpose is simple. Ego wants attention. Purpose wants impact. Ego says, look at me. Purpose says, let me build something that lasts. Ego wants to be seen, purpose wants to be remembered, and only mastery creates legacy. Recognition fades when the spotlight moves on, but mastery keeps you relevant long after the applause has stopped. Here's the secret. When you become obsessed with mastery, recognition eventually finds you, but on your terms, because people can ignore your words, but they can't ignore your results. When you're undeniable at what you do, the world has no choice but to take notice. You don't have to chase recognition when your work speaks for itself. The goal isn't to be famous. The goal is to be exceptional. Fame is temporary. Excellence is eternal. Mastery also demands sacrifice. It will isolate you. It will test your patience. It will make you question your abilities, because mastery requires repetition, the boring, relentless, unglamorous kind of repetition that breaks the weak and builds the strong. You'll fail. You'll fall. You'll start over more times than you can count, but that's how you grow. You sharpen your edges through friction. You earn your greatness through failure. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every setback a step forward. That's how mastery is born. Not through perfection, but through persistence. Most people give up before they get good. They expect instant success, and when it doesn't happen, they quit. But mastery takes time. It's built through years of invisible effort, through nights of frustration and mornings of discipline. It's built through patience, resilience, and an unshakable belief that one day your work will speak for you. And when it does, it won't whisper. It will roar. There's power in becoming so good that you can't be ignored. That's the level you should aim for, because when you reach mastery, you don't have to sell yourself. Your name becomes your reputation. People start talking about your work even when you're not in the room. They start seeking you out, not because you asked for recognition, but because you earned it. That's real influence, not fame, not followers, but respect, the kind that can only be built through mastery. So many people are in a rush to be recognized that they forget to be refined. They want the world to see them before they've even built something worth showing. But if you focus on mastery, recognition will come naturally, and it will come stronger, deeper, and longer lasting. You'll no longer be a name that trends for a week. You'll be a name that stands for decades. Mastery makes you unshakable. When you've done the work, when you've paid your dues, no one can take that from you. You don't fear competition because you've outworked it. You don't fear criticism because you've earned confidence through competence. And that's what true mastery gives you. Freedom. The freedom to walk into any room, face any challenge, and know that you belong there because you've earned it. So don't chase recognition. Don't rush to be seen. Be patient enough to build, disciplined enough to refine, and humble enough to learn. Because when you commit to mastery, recognition won't just find you, it will follow you everywhere you go. And when it does, you won't need to introduce yourself. Your work will do that for you. That's the power of mastery. It doesn't just earn you success, it earns you respect. Recognition might get you in the door, but mastery keeps you in the room. And when you've mastered your craft, when you've poured your soul into your purpose, you'll understand something most people never do. That greatness isn't about being seen, it's about being remembered. There comes a point in your journey when words no longer matter, when explanations feel unnecessary, when justification feels small. Because when your results speak, you don't have to. The world understands the language of success. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth when your achievements stand as proof. Let the results do the talking. That's real power. We live in a world obsessed with talking. Everyone's explaining, defending, debating, convincing, trying to prove their value through words. But the truth is, talk is cheap. People can argue with your opinions. They can question your motives. They can doubt your intentions, but they can't deny your results. Results are the universal truth. They silence critics. They quiet doubters, and they command respect in a way words never can. When you let your results do the talking, you move differently. You don't waste time arguing with people who don't understand your vision. You don't chase validation from those who doubt you. You focus on execution, not explanation. Because every minute you spend trying to prove yourself is a minute stolen from progress. The greatest revenge, the greatest response, the greatest statement you can ever make is to succeed. There's a certain peace that comes when you stop explaining yourself and start showing results. You stop being reactive and start being strategic. You no longer chase approval, you chase performance. You stop saying, "Watch what I'm going to do," and start saying, "Watch what I've done." That's the difference between the dreamers and the doers. Dreamers talk about what they're going to achieve. Doers let their work speak for itself. Here's the truth. People doubt what they can't see, but they can't deny what they can't ignore. When your results show up, the noise fades. When your actions produce outcomes, even your critics have to acknowledge you. That's why your best argument is not your opinion. It's your excellence. You don't win debates with words, you win them with proof. The scoreboard never lies. There's something powerful about quiet success. It doesn't need to announce itself. It arrives with impact. It walks into the room and changes the atmosphere without saying a word. When you've done the work, when you've paid your dues, when you've earned your stripes, your very presence carries weight. People feel it. That's what results do. They speak a language louder than your voice ever could. Let the others talk. Let them gossip, doubt, and question. You keep building, keep executing, keep doing the work that no one sees. Because one day, the results will speak for you in a room you haven't even entered yet. They'll open doors you didn't have to knock on. They'll create opportunities you didn't have to beg for. That's the beauty of results. They travel faster than your words ever will. The problem is, too many people want to be heard before they've done anything worth listening to. They want recognition before contribution. They want the respect of results without the reality of work. But success doesn't work that way. You don't get applause for effort, you get applause for evidence. You can talk all you want about what you're going to do, but at some point, you have to show the world something real, because eventually words fade, results remain. You have to learn the discipline of silence, the art of doing instead of declaring. Let people underestimate you. Let them doubt you. Let them think you're quiet because you have nothing to say. Because when your work is ready, it will say everything for you. The louder the world doubts you, the quieter you should become. Let their noise fuel your focus. Let their disbelief become your drive. Because when your results arrive, they'll have to rewrite every word they ever spoke about you. When you focus on results, your energy shifts. You start making decisions based on progress, not perception. You stop being emotional about opinions and start being logical about execution. You stop caring who's watching and start caring what's working. And that's when you become unstoppable, because you're no longer playing for approval, you're playing for legacy. Think about every great achiever, the innovators, the athletes, the entrepreneurs, the leaders. They didn't beg to be believed in. They didn't argue with doubters. They built, they performed, they delivered. And when the results came, the world had to listen. You can't argue with evidence. You can't silence success. Results are the final word in every conversation. The beauty of results is that they don't just prove your ability, they validate your discipline. Every result tells a story of effort, resilience, patience, and persistence. Behind every success you see is 1,000 silent struggles that no one clapped for. But that's why results are so powerful. They're not just numbers or trophies, they're the physical proof of invisible effort. When you stop explaining yourself and start producing, something inside you changes. You stop needing people's approval. You stop overthinking. You start trusting your process. You start realizing that the people who matter don't need explanations, and the people who need explanations don't matter. The only thing that matters is progress, real, measurable progress. There's a moment that every achiever dreams of, that day when your work finally speaks for you, when the same people who ignored you start quoting you, when the same voices that doubted you start praising you, when you don't have to say, "I told you so," because your results said it louder. That moment doesn't come from talking, it comes from doing. So keep your focus on execution. Keep your head down and your standards high. Let your actions build the narrative. Don't talk about how great you're going to be. Show them how great you already are. Because the truth is, results don't need a microphone. They echo on their own. And when they do, they reach places your words could never go. When you finally achieve what you've been working for, you'll realize something powerful. That silence was never weakness, it was wisdom. The time you spent working instead of talking, focusing instead of flexing, building instead of boasting, that was the difference. And when you stand in the light of your results, you'll know you didn't need to say a thing, because the results said it all.